The handcuff key hit the mud before Officer Brent Harlan understood what he had touched. It made a small sound beside pump 3. Governor Isaiah Reed saw it fall from the rear seat of the cruiser, silver against brown water, and said nothing. 20 minutes earlier, he had turned off County Road 9 because the fuel light came on. Cedar Gulf Fuel sat under a bent metal canopy at the edge of Raven Mill, the kind of place with one clerk, 2 dark pumps, and a paper sign taped inside the door saying the restroom key was for customers only. Rain ran off the canopy in ropes. The pump screen blinked through a fog plastic cover. Isaiah stood beside his old Ford Bronco in a Navy college hoodie and wet jeans. No suit, no flag pin, no black Suburban close enough to see. That had been the point. He had asked Agent Mara Whitcomb to keep the protection detail back. Far enough for quiet, close enough for protocol. He wanted one drive where no one opened a door for him, checked a room before he entered, or used a radio name instead of his own. The pump accepted his card. He lifted the nozzle. Inside the store, Silas Greer looked up from a small television on the counter. He saw the Bronco first, then Isaiah, then the patrol cruiser turning in too fast from the road. Officer Brent Harlan did not pull into a space. He cut across the wet concrete and stopped his cruiser at an angle behind the Bronco, close enough that Isaiah could not back out without permission. The front tire settled in a puddle. The light bar painted the pump casing red, then blue, then red again. Isaiah placed the nozzle back in the cradle. He moved slowly. Hands open, chest high. Harlan stepped out with one hand resting on his belt. His rain cover shone under the canopy light. He looked at the hoodie, the beanie, the old truck, and the county line marker across the road. Step away from the vehicle. Isaiah took one step back. Good evening, officer. May I ask what this is about? I asked first. Harlan came closer, but not close enough to be polite. His eyes moved to the Bronco's plate. This truck registered to you? My registration and identification are inside the vehicle. The registration is held through a private trust. A trust? Yes. At this hour. Isaiah kept his palms visible. I can retrieve the documents if you want me to. Don't reach. Silas stood behind the glass door with his hand on the counterphone. He knew that tone. Raven Mill officers used it on people passing through after midnight. Not everybody, just enough for the pattern to have a shape. Harlan pulled a folded paper from his jacket pocket. A patrol bulletin. The ink had softened at the corners from rain. We've had residential break-ins across the ridge. Midnight traffic, older vehicles, drivers crossing into private roads. Isaiah looked at the paper, then at the empty road behind him. I'm at a gas pump. You're near the ridge. I'm buying fuel. You're being evasive. Silas's fingers moved toward the small black backup button under the counter. The pump cameras recorded automatically, but the overnight audio backup had to be saved by hand. He had done it once for a drunk driver. Never for a police stop. Not yet. Isaiah said, Officer Harlan, run the plate. The state system will show a secured hold. My state identification is in the inside pocket of my jacket. Harlan's mouth tightened when Isaiah read the name tag. Hands on the hood. For what reason? For security. Isaiah looked once at the cruiser blocking him in. Security for whom? Hands on the hood. A sedan passed on the road without slowing. Its brake lights brightened for 1 second, then disappeared into the rain. Isaiah turned and placed both palms flat on the Bronco. The hood was cold. Water moved under his fingers in thin lines. Harlan patted him down too hard at the ribs and too slowly at the jacket pocket he had been told about. He felt the edge of the identification case, but did not remove it. There is a state-issued card in that pocket, Isaiah said. I'll decide what matters. You are deciding before you check. Harlan took the cuffs from his belt. The first cuff closed on Isaiah's left wrist. Then the right. Too tight? Isaiah breathed once through his nose and let his shoulders settle. He did not pull away. He did not raise his voice. Harlan pushed him toward the cruiser. Male subject detained at Cedar Gulf. Possible prowler. Refused lawful commands. The radio carried his words into Raven Mill dispatch. In the store, Silas looked at the counterphone. Then at the backup button. His thumb hovered over it. Isaiah sat in the rear seat with his hands behind him. Rainwater from his jeans darkened the plastic bench. Harlan leaned in and searched his pockets. The state phone came out last. It was black, thick, and unmarked. Harlan turned it in his palm. What is this supposed to be? A state communications device, Isaiah said. There is an emergency contact on the side. Harlan dropped it onto the front passenger seat. Sure. The screen lit before he closed the door. Red letters filled the glass. Executive line primary signal lost. The phone was already telling him this was not a burner. So why was Officer Harlan still reaching for the arrest code? Do not answer that line. Harlan said it through the open driver's door, but the device had already connected. A woman's voice came through the speaker, flat and controlled. Primary, this is Vanguard. Confirm your status. Harlan picked up the device with 2 wet fingers, as if distance could make it less real. This is Officer Brent Harlan, Raven Mill Police. Your party is detained while I confirm identity. In the rear compartment, Isaiah Reed sat with his wrists secured behind him. He looked at the partition, not at Harlan. Officer, the woman said, this is Agent Mara Whitcomb, State Executive Protection. You will step away from the governor and preserve the scene. Harlan blinked once. Then he chose delay. Stand by, he said. He put the device face down on the console. At Raven Mill Dispatch, Tessa Lowell watched a new alert open across the lower edge of her screen. It did not ask for an opinion. It asked for an export. State command request, incident audio, location history, video index. A small gray button offered two choices. Release. Defer. Tessa placed her hand on the mouse and waited for permission that no policy required. The night sergeant leaned over her chair with a paper coffee cup in his hand. Send it through records. State command requested direct export. Records opens at 7. It's an active detention. He tapped the rim of the cup against her desk. Once. Twice. Then mark it pending supervisor review. Tessa looked at the event notes. Possible prowler. Refused lawful commands. Combative. Under the notes, the audio waveform showed 3 clean spikes. Harlan's order, Isaiah's answer, Harlan's radio call. Isaiah's line was lower than both. She did not press release. She did not press defer. Not yet. At Cedar Gulf Fuel, headlights turned in from the road without sirens. 2 state vehicles stopped at the edge of the apron, square and controlled. Doors opened. No one rushed. Agent Mara Whitcomb crossed the wet concrete with one hand visible and the other near her radio. Her suit jacket was dark from rain by the time she reached the cruiser. Open the rear door, she said. Harlan kept his palm on the roof. I'm still verifying. You were contacted by state command. I don't know who was on that line. You know enough to delay. That sentence changed nothing on paper. It changed Harlan's hand. He moved it off the roof. Mara looked past him. Governor Reed, are you injured? Isaiah shifted enough to face her. Risks only. Preserve his vehicle camera. Preserve the dispatch audio. Preserve the station camera if the clerk saved it. Harlan laughed once, but it came out thin. He's giving orders from my back seat. Isaiah did not answer him. Mara turned to the trooper behind her. Separate Officer Harlan from his radio. Bag his duty recorder. Nobody opens the cruiser laptop. Harlan looked toward the store window. Silas Greer looked down. That was the ordinary part. The part people did every day. See trouble. Look at a shelf. Look at a receipt roll. Look anywhere but at the person being held. Then Silas picked up the laminated camera instruction card taped beside the register. His thumb found the line for overnight archive. He followed it slowly, step by step, like a man assembling something he should have learned years ago. Save clip. Name file. Do not overwrite. At Raven Mill headquarters, Chief Lowell Briggs came through the rear entrance in a half-button uniform shirt. He did not ask for Isaiah's condition. He asked who had access. Tessa turned from her station. State Command wants the incident package. Put it in the morning queue. They marked it urgent. Everything is urgent when the state calls. Briggs took his access card from a lanyard and walked toward the server hallway. The card reader gave one short chirp. The light stayed red. He swiped again. Red. The cyber unit had beaten him by 90 seconds. Inside the server room, a state technician was already seated on a rolling stool with a right blocker clipped between 2 cables. A preservation notice lay on top of the keyboard, printed on plain white paper. No sale, no drama. Just the kind of paper that could end a career because it arrived before a deletion. Briggs stopped at the doorway. I'm the chief. The technician did not look up. Then your login will be preserved too. Back at dispatch, Tessa finally clicked release. The export queue opened. Incident audio. Cruiser index. Computer-aided dispatch notes. County line stop tags. A folder appeared at the bottom with a name that had never been entered into public policy. Night watch. Tessa stared at it for 1 second too long. Then she added one note of her own. Subject voice column on open audio before combative label. There was one word in Tessa Lowell's note that Harlan's story could not survive. Did you catch it? A clerk rolled the evidence card across the statehouse floor with both hands on the metal rail. The wheels made a dry clicking sound over each seam in the marble. On the top shelf sat a clear pouch with Brent Harlan's handcuffs inside. Beside it sat a separate pouch holding the key recovered from the mud outside Cedar Gulf Fuel. On the lower shelf were 3 binders, a sealed envelope from the gas station, and one thin document with a red receive stamp, still wet at the edge. Governor Isaiah Reed stood behind the side door, wearing the same hoodie, now dry, folded smooth at the cuffs. A medic had wrapped his wrists in plain white gauze, not large, not dramatic, just enough to keep the fabric from rubbing the marks the metal had left. Claire Baines handed him a single page. Union statement, she said. Isaiah read the first line. Subject was secured pending identity confirmation after refusing lawful instructions. He looked at the word secured for a moment. Then he placed the page back in Claire's folder. Put it after the video, he said. The chamber clerk struck the gavel twice. People shifted in their seats one at a time. A senator closed a laptop. A reporter lowered a coffee cup without drinking from it. Near the aisle, Attorney General Luis Navarro opened a gray binder and removed the first exhibit tab. Isaiah walked to the rostrum without music, without applause, without the state seal on the screens. The first image shown was not his face. It was the amended incident summary. Harlan's original words had been softened in blue digital markup. Combative became non-compliant. Handcuffed became secured. Prowler became subject near burglary zone. No line mentioned that Isaiah had named the location of his identification before the cuffs closed. Navarro read the changes in order. He did not raise his voice. Then Claire played the Cedar Golf video. The pump camera showed Isaiah replacing the nozzle before Harlan reached him. It showed his hands open. It showed the cruiser blocking the truck. The store audio was thin, but it caught the sentence clearly. Run the plate. The state system will show a secured hold. A woman in the second row touched her pen to the hearing agenda and stopped writing. Next came the patrol audio. Harlan's report followed seconds later. Possible prowler. Refused lawful commands. The two sentences sat beside each other on the screen. One spoken by the man in cuffs. One entered by the man holding the key. Isaiah stepped to the microphone. I am not asking you to decide whether Officer Harlan was embarrassed, he said. I am asking you to decide whether a department gets to make clean paperwork out of dirty conduct. He let the clerk place the stop data spreadsheet under the document camera. Rows filled the screen. Late night stops. County line markers. Searches with no contraband. Names blacked out, but race and outcome left visible because patterns do not need full names to tell the truth. 389 stops in 14 months. 82% Black and Hispanic drivers. 0 written authorization for night watch. A staffer near the back folded his copy of the union statement and slid it inside his jacket. Navarro stood. As of this morning, Officer Brent Harlan is in state custody, he said. His patrol certification has been referred for emergency suspension. His firearm, badge, vehicle access, and reporting credentials have been removed pending prosecution. On the screen, a still image appeared. Harlan's badge lay on a metal intake table beside a property envelope. No speech could make that quieter. Navarro turned one page. Chief Lowell Briggs has been charged with evidence tampering, obstruction, and conspiracy to falsify detention records. His administrative access to Raven Mill systems was terminated at 6:42 this morning. Raven Mill Police Department is now under emergency state receivership. A second image appeared. The server room door. A paper seal across the handle. A state evidence tag hanging from the lock. Isaiah looked at it longer than he looked at Harlan's badge. That was where the real harm had been stored. Navarro continued. Every night watch stop would be reopened for independent review. Any citation, search, seizure, tow, or arrest connected to the program would be audited. Drivers whose cases had been built on false stop language would receive notice from the Attorney General's office, not from Raven Mill. Tessa Lowell's name was not spoken in full. The order identified her as a protected witness. Her dispatch terminal access was preserved. Her job could not be touched by Raven Mill supervisors. Silas Greer's gas station archive was accepted into chain of custody. His overnight clip was logged, copied, and sealed. Two quiet people had not fixed the system. They had stopped helping it lie. Then Isaiah signed the order with a black fountain pen. The pen did not shake. The order required a locked, statutory basis field before any late-night county line detention code could open. It required automatic state mirroring of all video involving cuffs, vehicle blocking, or force. It gave civilian oversight boards subpoena power over local stop data. It required a public quarterly dashboard showing reason, search rate, race, outcome, and contraband recovery. Claire placed the signed order beside the evidence pouches. The clerk stamped it. Received. That was the sound that mattered. Later that afternoon, Silas Greer reopened Cedar Gulf Fuel and taped a new notice behind the register. Overnight camera archives retained for 90 days. He pressed the tape flat with 2 fingers, then looked once toward pump 3. The rain had stopped. The concrete still held a dark mark where the cruiser tire had sat. At the State House, the muddy key remained in its pouch, tagged under evidence item 4. By Monday, it was no longer just the key Brent Harlan had dropped in the mud. It was the key that opened 389 files. Chief Briggs thought he was saving his department, and that was the part the order had to stop. This story is a work of fiction. Names, places, departments, and events were created for narrative purposes. Any resemblance to real people, agencies, or cases is coincidental.